City of Stevens Point Board of Water and Sewerage Commissioners meeting, recorded September 13, 2021.
(12:03). Call this meeting to order. We have a quorum present for the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners.
All present except for Paul. We'll mark him excused.
And if so, then we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from August 9th, 2021. Is there any reaction to those minutes? If not, a motion would be in order to accept.
I'll move for approval.
Second, Nachman.
It's been moved and approved for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And hearing no opposed, the minutes of August 9th are approved. And then on to the approval of department claims. First up is Water Department from August. Any questions along the way on Water Department?
Got a question on number 55749, monitoring well samples. What exactly are we testing for?
We do this every year. There's a whole panel of testing that we do on the 100 and some monitoring wells that are out there just to keep track of them. And I know that a while back we talked about a report of sorts, or we're able to kind of get that into your hands anytime. But it goes back to, I think, 89,
Okay.
all that data. So,
But these are the annual tests.
yeah, from metals to chlorides and nitrates and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Yep.
And we do tests in between the annual tests as well?
No,
No. Just,
not on these monitoring wells, right? Yep.
I did have just a highlight on 55792 with Water Tower Engineering. Can't imagine it got much
Yeah, this ends up being
advice on.
ends up being a pass-through cost. So anytime one of our carriers on the water tower wants to do some improvements, it's in their lease essentially. We word it where we get the engineering fees that we're going to require up front, and then we work directly with our engineer. They submit structural plans, details, and everything to them. They approve them. We pay the, in this case, SCH bill, but we've already got a pot of money there to pay out of. So yeah.
All right. Not hearing any other questions. Do we move on to Sewage Department?
I've got a question on number 55793. Just my ignorance. What is PRAESTOL?
Prestol is the brand of polymer.
Okay.
It is, so it's a coagulant that we use to thicken or to dewater sludge.
Okay.
And the prices just keep going up because it's made out of oil, so.
I can't hear you very well.
Okay, we'll speak up. We're on a conference phone here. It's a oil-based polymer that we use to dewater the solids at the treatment plant.
And did you hear the initial question, Anna?
Yeah, I think I caught the number, so yeah.
Okay. 55793.
Yeah. So I have one question. I can't recall why, but these are not, there's numbers that are skipped. So it like goes from 55800 to 55803? Like what
Yeah,
happened
so
to
there's-
1 and 2?
They're sequential for the entire utility now, right? So if you see them under wastewater, the missing one could be under stormwater or water.
Oh,
That's one of the
oh,
things
yeah.
from when we combined accounts.
And I think the commission at that time had asked to keep the format of the 3 utilities just because it helps us in our assessment and overview of the different expenses and accounts. So I thought, it does help me to understand it by the 3 departments, even though all the accounting is really combined.
Right. No, it does make sense. I had to clarify that. Okay.
Not hearing any other questions, move on to stormwater. Hearing no questions, I would entertain a motion to accept all 3 departments together as submitted and explained.
So move, Nachman.
Second, Ray.
It's been moved and seconded to accept all 3 departments' claims for the month of August. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Hearing none against, the claims are accepted for all departments. Which moves us on to wellhead protection
Yeah, so thank you.
amendments.
Yeah, this is the exact same memo that was written up, I think it was in May. And actually, I think we passed on it for a month so that Ray and I could talk about things. I think we've talked it through. We didn't have a whole lot that we needed to discuss. So same information is before you today. As the memo lays out, this is the existing map right here, the one with the green polygon and the kind of orangish circles. That's the one that's currently on file. The one that is proposed is the one that follows, that is more angular in shape when it comes down to the proposed areas. And the language to add the Zone C in follows, and that's because previously we only handled zones A and B inside a city ordinance, and we didn't handle Zone C because it went outside the city jurisdiction quite a bit. But this stays within our extraterritorial authority now, so we're adding the Zone C language. This is all stuff that's been, 2.5, 3 years worth of discussion at the county side too. So it's been pretty well vetted by the folks at the county who kind of have been doing the same work that Ray used to do since his departure there, and also with the committees like the Citizens Groundwater Advisory Committee, stuff like that. So all the same language we talked about last time.
So go back again on the map, which is C?
So C, as it exists, is this dark blue line here that goes up, and it actually goes way, 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 way up here to the county line.
Okay.
And the C proposed that we're asking for adoption is this lighter blue-green line. It brings it way closer in to the city and more closely represents our area of interest. Not only that, but area of influence. There's a groundwater divide right up here that makes it kind of unnecessary for us to go any further. And then up in here, this gets outside of our what we've understood to be kind of some of the concerning areas. So it's just bringing into what we understand to be the area that we need to be most protective of.
Joel, do you know if the county will continue to have the Zone C that goes all the way up to the county line?
No, this is consistent with, well, I can't say that because this is consistent with what was proposed, but it wasn't yet adopted.
Right.
So it's kind of a chicken or the egg thing here. Do we adopt it? Do they adopt it? It was our intent as a staff to wait out the county's process, and if this was adopted, adopt the same so they match. But in lack of that, we're gonna propose that this is adopted so they know that this is our interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments on, what's before us? And Joel, how do you,
I
what
guess,
what should be entertained here? What's
I
the
think
request?
simply a motion to approve as presented would be appropriate.
I've got one more question before we do that.
Yeah.
Well number 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Well 5 was the one that was just abandoned not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Is that reflected in the groundwater flow maps?
No, actually, this still kind of shows it, and the reason we did that is because we'll have to bring this back before too long for well 12 anyway, because well 4 is getting slightly relocated, and we're going to call it well 12.
Gotcha.
And when we do those changes, we'll account for the fact that 5 has been abandoned. Okay. But they're so close that the actual management area isn't going to be demonstrably different. You know, it's just going to be pretty much the same.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, thanks. So we're entertaining a motion to approve the maps.
As presented.
Along with
Maps-
the language.
Maps and language.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Anna.
We have a motion and a second to approve the maps and language for the wellhead protection ordinance amendments and as presented.
One more discussion item. It says in future months it would be appropriate to bring back a few more changes. Is that left over from the memo we got in April or May?
Well, it is the same memo, but that actually applies to the well 4 and 5 thing that you just asked about.
Gotcha, okay.
Yep.
So with that, can we, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any objections? Hearing none, the wellhead protection ordinance amendments coming from the Sewer and Water Commission are approved. Which then brings us to item 5, utility rate adjustments. Joel.
Yeah, so we've discussed in the past at our last rate adjustments on a more frequent basis so that they're smaller rate adjustments. And also, not too long ago, I think we talked about it based on the amount of capital that we're going to see on the stormwater utility this year and next. The funds in the bank aren't adequate for the relatively large project we're doing this year, which is going to bleed into next year, and the size of that pipe. It's a very unusual project for us. We're looking at, very, very large pipe diameters, which means we're looking at about a $3 million borrowing on that. So what's laid out here is a proposal for what is called a simplified rate case on the water side. That's a PSC regulated procedure. I think it was last month, just last month, we got permission to not only file for that simplified rate case from you guys, but then to evaluate the other utilities and bring forward a proposal on rates there. So the simplified rate case this year through the PSC, and you can see on this sheet here, this is an auto-generated sheet that the PSC does when you put your numbers or you put your utility in, is a 3%. You can see right here. That is what all of their simplified rate cases right now are running. And that will adjust operating income by, is it this? I'm sorry, 3%. line 1 times line 2, nope, it's this. It's a relatively small increase. This is just the, like I said, the auto-generated sheet, and then they generate this notice here that we have to put in the paper, and that appeared 2 Fridays ago. And so this is a copy of that kind of affidavit showing that it went out there and giving people the information on the notice of rate increase for the water customers. In that, we did note this right here where you see other utility rates in Stevens Point, including sewer and storm rates, are being reviewed and will be acted on locally by the Stevens Point Board of Water and Sewerage Commission right now. So the notice is out there for the water. We mentioned the other 2 in this notice. And so really what we're doing is, like I said, you know, last time we did rate increases, they were considerably bigger, especially on the water side at some point. And so we're just bringing small incremental increases forward now to keep up with the projects that are being done and to keep up with things like our, what do you call that ratio? Debt service ratios and stuff like that. So for an example here, on the storm sewer side, I put this in there because the storm we're proposing at 6%. And while that is obviously double the percentage of the other 2, it's a much smaller rate base. We don't collect as much water for storm as we do for sewer and water. So that is a average storm fee increase right there for a standard single family resident. That would be quarterly.
And Joel, when you talk about this year's project and then carry it over to next year, is there also the anticipation of the Division Street project? Is that also going to be of that scale or magnitude, or is it not?
No, the unique part of this year is the size of the infrastructure, not necessarily the lineal feet of infrastructure we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some, is it 84?
Right now?
Yeah. 84-inch storm sewer out on, over by MEJ's over there, which, I mean, you can,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's big, it's expensive, and there isn't much of that in town, right? So we're doing a part of town that's particularly expensive. Division has some pretty normal infrastructure on it, small sizes, you know, probably mostly 36 and under. I'd say most of it's smaller than that, but it's not going to run into that where the per lineal foot is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. It's more standard reconstruction rates. Now, I will say that in next year, I'm sure we'll have another small bump, right? Just to keep up with the prices of everything, to keep up with the fact that just a handful of years ago, the city went from reconstructing a quarter mile of road a year to a little over a mile. So we've gone up, you know, 400%, right?
Sure.
And so we're having to keep up with that. And this is part of what we need to do to keep up.
Somebody asked me not too long ago, how often are I know about how often the sewer and water pipes are replaced. How often are the streets replaced?
Generally speaking, there's about 3 roads on a set of utilities.
Okay.
And that can mean anything. I mean, it can be you totally take off the road and put a new one on, or it can mean you mill half of it and put a new surface on it. It depends on the volume of cars, the traffic, you know, how it's used. Is it a truck route? Is it not? Is it just a quiet urban residential street?
Okay.
So if your utilities last 90 years, you're probably going to have, in one way or another, a 30-year life on different parts of that road. So about 3 different times they'll pay attention to it.
Okay.
One of those being the first time.
Are we still on the first time of replacing some really old roads?
Well, I don't know about that because we're getting around to having not a ton of our original infrastructure on the utility side left.
Okay.
So I'm sure there's been new pavement over all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep.
Joel, this is May.
Yep.
Just a quick question. After publicizing that potential rate increase, did you receive any feedback from anybody in the community? Any pushback? Any thoughts on that?
No, I didn't get any calls. No.
Okay.
Typically the calls I do get are from a couple of the larger places to say, hey, do you know what your rates might go up this year?
Okay.
And I have those conversations every year with the same people. So those were months ago, but I didn't get anything after this. And there will still on the water side, I believe even with the simplified rate case, there will still be a telephonic hearing that the PSC requires
Okay,
that they run, and it's a phone in that people can join in on. Now, I've never had anybody call into one of those, I don't think, but regardless, they're there as a regulatory component of this whole process.
okay, thanks.
Joel, I've got a question on, it says the proposed increase in stormwater utility for single-family residents, storm fee from $17.58 to $18.64. Is that monthly or quarterly?
That's quarterly.
Okay.
That's quarterly, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And we started out back in 13 at 15 something. So, you know, we haven't gone up a ton.
Right.
Yeah. Or 14 something. 1477? Yeah, that's ringing a bell now, yeah.
A memory.
With that, do we proceed with these rate adjustments by using a motion and?
Yeah, so what I was looking for here, is approval on the rates as proposed pending the simplified rate increase being approved and fully kind of executed by the PSC. And if we need additional action because of something they decide, obviously we wouldn't go forward with it. We'd come back and say, here's what, you know, if they had a different finding, of course we would consider that action null for the case of water. I brought this month, even though I planned on doing it next month, because the borrowing that we have to do through storm, Comptroller Treasurer Laddick thought that it would be better to have the rate increase in the minutes when they went forward to issue the debt for stormwater, because it looks better to those buying the bonds that you're already accounting for the debt service for those bonds. So that's why we're a month ahead here, but it's all the same info either way. So yeah, just looking for approval of those percentages, conditioned on the Public Service Commission approval of the same.
Would the sewer and stormwater still go forward if the PSC doesn't approve?
Yeah, because those
they're separate.
right. Those are totally up to you guys. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, can we entertain a motion for the approval of these rate increases?
I'll move for approval, Ray, conditional on the, I'll move for approval of all of the rates if the PSC approves the water rate increase. And if PSC does not approve the water rate increase, I still approve the other rate increases. Maybe you can write that better.
I'll second it. It's Anna.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to accept these utility rate adjustments for the 3 utilities that we manage. If so, how, can I please have, hear all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the utility rate adjustments are approved. Next on to 6, report on monthly fee tracking. Joel.
Yeah, one of the things that kind of came up during COVID was the fees associated with the processing of credit cards. And we did get, the PSC did approve of utilities basically assuming these fees, and it worked out well considering where we are with software transition. But we did also say that we'd bring back, after we had several months of history, bring back some numbers for you guys. So here they are. It's just a report. No action is sought out or needed on this. But you can see here probably our biggest month. What was it? This one, $157,000. We paid through $3,200 in fees. And it's happened to work out where it's pretty much 2%, whenever we do that. So we'd like to continue with this for the time being, for a number of reasons. One being that it's still allowed. And if it isn't, at some point, I think what we'll do is, if it isn't through the PSC on the water side, we might come back to you and ask if we can handle this more through the other enterprises. But that's where we stand right now. So it's just a report on where we're at.
So on our total revenue, it's about 10% of the total take, and
You know, I don't, so if you look at really, really round numbers, 4.5 million, 4.5 million, 1.5 million, 9, 10, 11.5 million a year, yeah, you're looking at, I suppose you're looking at pretty close to 10% on some months of our revenue comes in through a transaction like this. And these numbers may very well go up. You know, as people realize it's out there and available, they may want to do credit card transactions a little more. So they're likely on the rise. But
does that percentage also occur on a debit?
It makes no difference to our processor if it's a credit or a debit card. We do have different fees if we're doing a electronic check where we're actually debiting with a routing number and a checking account number. Those are handled a little differently, but anything that's plastic would hit this report.
Mm-hmm. So the debit to a checking account is about the same as well? Is that a?
I have not tracked those. I can verify that.
You know, I wonder whether, you know, one over the other would be encouraged by the commission if it's, you know, we're.
In the past with our processor is we always waive the fees for anybody who wants to debit a checking account because the PSC allows us to do that. But verbiage before used to be if a credit card is being used, whoever's using the credit card has to absorb any fees associated with that. And so we've always taken it because we have several different ways of doing the banking account debit. So we've got like 3 different vendors that can do a checking account debit for us. So but I can look at exactly how many we got in. Kind of seeing months that we get here.
Next time we bring this forward, we can just throw in a few more pieces of info if you'd like. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's all.
Thank you, Mud, for the update. Next on number 7, Eric.
All right, so looks like
Water supply.
this month we had a little less pumpage in August. It was hot, but it was very wet.
Really?
A couple of things I wanted to add on top of this to make it short and sweet. We did have high service lift pump at well 11, so the pump that pumps the drinking water into the main to go out to the street broke down. We have 3 pumps. Our big one broke down, so we had to have that pulled out and repaired. They're actually reinstalling the brand new equipment today, repaired equipment. So next month you'll see about a $15,000 invoice for that. But it was detrimental, so we had to go ahead and get that fixed.
Do we have a backup for that pump?
Yeah, there's 2 separate smaller pumps we can run.
Okay.
But the big one, we've been running that at peak times, and it's actually been alleviating running other wells first thing in the morning and at night when people are home.
Okay.
And it happened to be that when we got into that matrix of pumping that in the morning, all of a sudden it broke, so that's going back in today as we speak. And then secondly, our mixing system that we're putting in the Bliss Tower here, the DNR has recommended on the last couple of surveys they've done here every 3 years. That was finally approved by the DNR, so we got the green light. I'll be ordering the equipment this week. That is in our capital improvement for this year. So that'll be going in probably October, November. It's just one other thing we needed to add.
So you said mixing. What are we mixing?
So the water itself kind of stratifies, and since it's on a dead end here, we don't really hold chlorine all summer here in this tower.
Oh.
So we're actually putting in an air mixer in the basement of the tower right at ground level. We're putting in a 3/4 inch tap that'll have a compressor and a filter, and it's actually going to put an air burst into the standpipe, and a big bubble air will go up. and then kind of mix it like you kind of think in a bathtub would happen.
There are a lot of mixing systems out there that municipalities use that are more mechanical,
Very,
and we just wanted to avoid that, and so it's something a little different, but that whole water column getting moved by that big bubble of air should be pretty effective.
yeah.
Okay, so then are we putting chlorine in with the air?
Nope, no.
So it won't change the chlorine content at all?
The issue is that because of the way our tower fills and empties, it's a single standpipe right in the bottom. It does this, right? So if you're not moving a lot of water, it can, like you said, stratify, and then your residual levels can go lower than you want them to be. And then even if it does mix a little bit, you're mixing a lower concentration chlorinated water, right?
Gotcha.
So to keep it mixed up, we'll just keep the water that's going in kind of more consistent with the water that's coming out.
Turned over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
It's actually one of the first, applications in the state for the air mixer for drinking water. So, pretty excited about that. It's very minimally invasive and
Yeah.
I think it'll serve us well.
It's the biggest bubbler.
Well, and you can
Right.
service it all from the ground floor rather than having to get up on top. Which,
Yeah,
Cool.
so, that's all I had to add. Any questions?
Not hearing any, we'll move on to item 8, sewage treatment operations. Chris?
All right, we did meet all of our permit requirements for the DNR for the month of August. We were able to offset about 74% of our natural gas usage and 16% of our electricity through biogas reuse. The reason that the electricity is not around 30% where it should be is it was just too hot in August and we didn't have any way to dissipate the heat out of our engine. So as fall comes around and everything starts to cool off, we should be able to produce a little more electricity than we were. Other than that, they have a whole lot.
I've got a quick question on, if you have any clue as to why the BOD is up a little this month and, the suspended solids is up quite a bit for the raw water?
Yeah.
The phosphorus is down.
We got a lot of rain. And when we get a lot of rain, we get some INI, some infiltration and inflow.
Okay.
Coming from, basically clear water coming into the sewer. That stirs a lot of pipes up that maybe haven't been stirred up in a while. So we get big slugs of heavier material coming out.
Okay, so
we'll
that's
get
the suspended solids.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. And then the BOD follows the TSS, so.
Yeah, the BOD didn't go up much, but, yeah, okay, thanks. I appreciate the explanation. I'm glad you know how it works.
Me too.
All right, no other questions. On to number 9, construction maintenance report. Craig?
Good afternoon, everyone. Our water crew is currently, we'll finish, Wednesday with the last lead service line that we had to do, earlier this year. So that went real well. Storm sewer crew is installing some new green tile out on Echo Dells. And then they will be topsoil on that and finishing up that for the year. And then we have a little project over on alley 20, which is this alley between Jefferson and Algoma. New little project there, just small, couple of months and a few, not even 100 feet of pipe. So other than that, everything seems to be running really well. And north side project ran into a little bit of slowdown with some contaminated soils and some water. So they're moving forward now, so look forward to getting that department tied together. So.
Did I understand you to say that, you took out the last of the lead
No,
service line?
for this year, right?
For this year?
Yeah,
Okay.
for what we have planned to do.
Okay. So how
That puts us about 30% of the way through,
30%?
roughly.
Not
Yep.
by 1/3, right?
Yeah. What do we do, 26, 27?
Maybe 26, I think.
I think we're at 27.
Yeah.
27.
We got around 100?
Yeah, so we're down to 70s-ish. Next year will be another 30 planned.
Super, thanks.
And then,
Yep. Went real well, so.
yeah, very well. Everything.
All right, On to item 10, Community Area Network Report. Joel?
Just one thing to update here. We have estimates back from the engineer we use on this stuff. We'll be establishing this week what we will be bidding out. It'll be a combination of work for the county to connect to their highway facility, Junction City, Kennedy School to get them on our system, and a few other random things around town that are smaller of interest to the department or to the city as a whole. So that'll probably go out in the next month here for more projects. A vast majority of that is paid for by others. So as those come forward, I'll give you a better idea where we're at.
When we run a project like hooking up Kennedy School, do we have to run a little tunnel all the way out to Junction City with fiber in it?
No, in this case, we're actually going to lease some fiber from Wisnet that goes from, we're already basically connected to them in several different areas, not physically, but like location wise. Their fiber's here, ours is too. So we're going to use some of theirs to get almost to their front door, but we'll have several blocks from Main Street and Junction City north to the school. We'll have to construct that of our own.
Okay.
Yeah. But other than that, almost everything we have in town is ours, constructed with conduit and fiber and multiple paths, stuff like that.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. On to number 11, update on solar performance.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna do this brief because I did get some numbers off to the folks we use, Northwind Renewable Energy, to see if they could actually do some ROI calculating for us, and it's a little trickier than we thought. So I'm gonna bring back more data, but let me show you. This is a tool we have over at the utility garage. Oh boy, now it's not gonna load. Come on, don't do this to me.
Quite a tool.
Well, actually,
You want me to run?
no, that's okay. I wonder if I go back to the to this one, if it'll bring the picture back. It won't. Nuts. Let me try to, where is that? Other bookmarks? No, here it is, E-Gauge. Let me try to reload it. Yep. Well, good timing. Basically,
I can run over that.
Yeah. We didn't have the info we needed anyway to give you an ROI on it, but I wanted to show you the tool we have to show the energy we consume versus what we produce. So what I'll do is get some still frames next time. That's a live look at our tool, which is always the neater way to look at it because you can see what's happening right now. But it's got a Wi-Fi issue. We got to unplug it a lot and plug it back in. So it was working just prior to the meeting, but it's not working now. So that's okay because I wanted to give you more data anyway. Let me try it one more time here.
You can see the green peaks. I mean,
Yeah.
red.
The green peaks on that picture, every time something's shaded green, we're sending energy out to the grid. Anytime it's shaded red, we're on a net consumption basis, so we're buying it. And there's a lot more green than there is red, but we get paid a fraction to send it out what we do to what we have to buy it. So that's where the ROI is tricky because there's some time of day stuff built in too. And that tool doesn't let us do time of day, and it doesn't let you do two different rates for buy and sell. It basically says, what's your electric value going either way?
Yeah.
So it looks like the thing's paid off already dang near, but it's not because we buy it at a little over 9 cents a kilowatt and we sell it at a little over 2 cents a kilowatt. So there's about a 25% difference or 25% of what we buy it for or less. So yeah, let's put this one on a future agenda.
Sounds like a plan. Director's report.
I have one item. Marissa is here. She's our newest employee in the office here. I wanted to, since she's sitting here, introduce her. So we're back up to 5 here.
Oh, great.
Just thought I'd let you know.
Welcome, Marissa.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I had. Everything else has been covered under other items.
All right. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 Hearing no one against, we're adjourned.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.